Hi, my name is Patrick Kuchio, the head of missions at Christ is the Answer Ministries. Now, is there an issue really with the culture of betting or gambling that has quickly taken root in our country and in other countries? Is there an issue? Should we have any reason to be concerned about betting and gambling in our country? Now, according to the National Council on Problem Gambling, 2 million US adults are classified as pathological gamblers, and another 4 to 6 million are classified as problem gamblers. 2 million pathological gamblers, 4 to 6 million problem gamblers. Now, your pathological gambler is one who just gambles and bets as a way of life. And your problem gambler is one who gets some money, sacrifices resources, gambles in the hope that that gamble will pay off. Now, in her book, At 50, Trends, Identities, and Politics of Belonging, Dr. Joyce Nyairo says it is fair to argue that in the past 10 years, Kenya has become a nation of gamblers. Kenya has become a nation of gamblers. Now, not only do promotional offers and lotteries of all kinds run by all sorts of corporates dominate the media landscape, from radio to TV, the dailies, the internet, and outdoor advertising, casinos have proliferated tenfold, the cultural analyst argues in her book. Now, in Kenya, or if Kenya has become a nation of gamblers, nowhere has this been reflected than in sports betting, which entails the activity of predicting sports results and placing a wager on the outcome. Sports betting has become a menace in our country, and I believe we have reason to be concerned. Now, statistics released by PricewaterhouseCoopers late in 2018 indicate that the annual gross turnover of sports betting in Kenya stands at 12.1 billion. This is the annual turnover from this industry, sports betting. Now, the gross revenue is projected to grow to more than 5.1 billion in the next 3 years. This is big money. This is a big industry. Now, whereas the Bible does not explicitly mention gambling, it does mention events of luck or chance. As an example, casting lots in scripture is used in the book of Leviticus to distinguish between the sacrificial goat and the scapegoat. Joshua cast lots to determine the allotment of land to the various tribes of Israel. Nehemiah cast lots to determine who would live inside the walls of Jerusalem and who would live outside the walls of Jerusalem. The apostles cast lots to determine the replacement of Judas. The Bible actually says in the book of Proverbs 16 verse 33 that the lot is cast in the lap, but its every decision is from the Lord. The lot is cast in the lap, but its every decision is from the Lord. Proverbs 16 verse 33. But the fundamental question on your mind and on my mind is this: what is wrong with gambling or betting? Is there anything wrong? Yes, I'll say number one. Betting is wrong because it appeals to our sense of greed. Betting is wrong because it appeals to our sense of greed. You see, betting, like gambling, is illusionary. It appeals to our base instincts, our greed, making you think that you can strike it big by one lucky strike. Unfortunately, there is no free lunch. That's just a fact. See, the owners of some of these lottery machines, gambling machines, set up the systems to their advantage, and they always make sure they never lose. Friends, wake up, smell the coffee. Gambling, betting is a money minting venture for the owners. Someone is making merchandise of you and I who are given to betting and gambling. Whereas the Bible does not specifically condemn gambling, betting, or the lottery, the Bible does warn us, however, to stay away from the love of money. Because whoever loves money never has enough, says the Bible. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with his income. This too is meaningless. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 10. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10 tells us, for the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Some people eager for money have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs. Gambling appeals to a sense of greed. And for that reason, gambling is wrong. You see, gambling most definitely is focused on the love of money and undeniably tempts people with the promise of quick and easy riches. That is not right. That does not please God. You see, many people who claim to play the lottery or gambling, some of them say they do so that they can make some money and give to church. While this may sound like a good motive, reality is that few people who win the lottery ever use the proceeds from lottery or gambling for godly purposes. Studies actually show that the vast majority of lottery winners are in an even worse financial situation a few years after winning a jackpot than they were before. So gambling does not benefit you or I in the long run. Secondly, gambling is wrong because it undermines the principle of work. This is where I have a big problem with this culture that has set up or set foot or set root in our country. Gambling undermines the culture of work. You see, gambling is a way to bypass work. But the Bible counsels us to persevere and work hard. The Bible tells us in Proverbs 14, verse 23, lazy hands, actually Proverbs 10, verse 4, lazy hands make a man poor, but diligent hands bring wealth. Lazy hands make a man or woman poor, but diligent hands bring wealth. Proverbs 10, verse 4. Proverbs 14, verse 23 says, all hard work brings a profit, but mere talk, let me rephrase it, mere gambling leads only to poverty. You see, stewardship is a key principle in the Bible. It's expected of us, of you and I, to be wise stewards of everything God places in our hands, including our time, our talents, and our treasure. But gamblers believe that they earn their money with their own labor and may spend it as they please. That's not stewardship according to God. You see, God gives people the talent and health to carry out their jobs, and their very life is a gift from Him. Wise stewardship of extra money calls believers to invest it in the Lord's work or save it for an emergency, rather than lose it in games in which the odds are stacked against the player. This is wrong. You see, gamblers find themselves coveting more money, but they may also covet the things money can buy, such as cars, boats, houses, expensive jewelry, clothing. The Bible forbids us against embracing a covetous attitude in the Ten Commandments. But see, gambling leads to covetousness. The Bible is very clear. Proverbs, Exodus 20 verse 17. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or his manservant or maidservant, his ox or donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. Gambling is wrong because it undermines the principle of work and cultivates covetousness. Gambling is wrong because it leads to addiction. Gambling is wrong because it leads to addiction. You see, gambling has the potential to turn one into an addict, just like drugs or alcohol. Like we mentioned earlier, according to the National Council on Problem Gambling, 2 million US adults are pathological gamblers. They just gamble as a way of life. And another 4 to 6 million are problem gamblers. Now, this addiction can destroy the stability of a family. It can lead up to a loss of jobs, can cause a person to lose control of their lives. And we have seen actual people who are sold out to gambling, losing control of their lives. Why should you allow anything in this world to enslave you? You shouldn't allow gambling, this culture of gambling or betting, to enslave you, where you're just constantly dreaming of making the jackpot or the lottery. You see, the Bible tells us in 2 Peter chapter 2 verse 19, for a man is a slave to whatever has mastered him. If you have been mastered by this habit of gambling or betting, that is your master. But today you can break free. You don't have to be a slave. You see, some people argue that gambling is nothing more than entertainment, no more immoral than going to a movie or a concert. Nothing could be further from the truth than that. Is people go to movies or concerts to be entertained in return, but not to get money in return. They're not tempted to keep spending until they break even, like it is with gamblers and betting. Gambling is wrong because it leads to addiction. There are people who have run their accounts dry. They have sacrificed family resources just to keep an addiction going. You see, an addiction is such that you must keep it going unless you break free from it. But this day, I want to challenge you to kick that addiction. It is possible to kick that addiction. So gambling is wrong because it leads to addiction. But fourthly, gambling provides a sense of false hope. Gambling is wrong because it provides a sense of false hope. You see, the culture of betting and gambling invites you to place your hope in winning normally astronomical odds, astronomical amounts. Instead of placing your hope in God, you place your hope in some astronomical odds. And like we've observed, the scales are normally in favor of the owners of the lottery machines. You show me this day, look at the accounts of these gambling betting companies. They may claim to be giving away millions, but how much are they making? Someone is making merchandise of us, and we must make our voice known. You see, throughout the Bible, we are constantly reminded that our hope is in God and God alone, not in money, not in power, not in position, but in God and God alone. The Bible tells me in Psalm 62 verse 5, find rest, O my soul, in God alone. My hope comes from Him, not from some get quick rich promise, no, but from God alone. Romans 15 verse 13 tells me, may the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in Him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. Our hope is anchored in God, not in some scandalous machines. Some Christians believe that church raffles, bingos, and the like to raise funds for Christian education and ministries are harmless fun, a form of donation involving a game. See, their logic is that, as with alcohol, adults should act responsibly. See, in those circumstances, it seems unlikely someone would lose a large amount of money in the bingos, in the raffles. However, the principle is the same. You are casting your lot on luck instead of putting your hope in God. You see, let's think of it this way. Every leisure activity is not a sin, okay? But all sin is not clearly listed in the Bible. Let's face it. The Bible encourages us to consider our activities in this way. 1 Corinthians chapter 6 verse 12. Some rhetorical questions are asked of us. Everything is permissible for me, the Apostle Paul says, but not everything is beneficial. Everything is permissible for me, but I will not be mastered by anything. The question that comes from that very profound truth from the Apostle Paul is this. Whereas everything may be permissible, is everything beneficial? And in this case, gambling is not beneficial. Studies actually show that it is not beneficial in the long run. When everything is permissible, will you be mastered by anything? No. So gambling, friends, is wrong because it provides a sense of false hope. So these 4 arguments, I believe, should persuade you to kick this habit of gambling. Number 1, gambling appeals to a sense of greed. Number 2, gambling undermines the principle of work. Number 3, gambling leads to addiction. And number 4, gambling provides a sense of false hope. So what would you consider as a closing? Now, whereas the Bible does not explicitly say, thou shalt not play with that betting company, yet by gaining knowledge through the scriptures, we have a trustworthy way of determining what displeases God and what pleases God. My word to us is this: gambling is not of God. And I call upon the powers that be, I call upon us as a country to interrogate, to intervene in good time before this culture ruins our young people. I call upon us as a nation, I call upon the government authorities to review the Gaming Act, Cap 131, and ban gambling and betting from our country because it is undermining the wealth of this nation. I call upon us to get rid of this vice. Otherwise, the next generation is being saddled with a culture that is very corrosive and very erosive. It is time we stood our ground and made our voice known by saying gambling and betting is wicked and we don't need to give in to this wickedness. Thank you very much. My name is Patrick Kuchio, at the head of missions at Christ is the Answer Ministries. Please keep this conversation going as we talk about the culture of gambling and betting. Thank you.